Oh.
She's taking out the trash.
Yeah, well, I figured somebody carrying out trash, and I thought,
Oh,
now,
heavens, no.
who's donating?
She's supposed to look like her, and she's supposed to look like that.
Donating garbage to me.
Right.
There isn't anything much to tell. He actually even knows more about that than I do, really, because it happened to her. She was, we were playing over in this neighbor's backyard right across the street from us, and they had a big vacant lot behind them. And for some reason, I don't know why, they stretched a single barbed wire across that. And it was up, oh, I don't know, no, it was about that high. And it had never been there before. Nobody knew it. And Eva come over there, and she was running as hard as she could. She run down there, and that barbed wire caught her right here across her face like that. And she still got a scar on her face from that thing. She just flat hit the ground. It wasn't anything funny or anything about it, but I remember that. I don't know how old she was when it happened, but she might have been 12 or 13 or 14. And she's 6 years older than I am, so I was a little stinker then. Blanche was away to Emporia for a vacation like Christmas or Thanksgiving or something. And Kay and I had looked out in our cornfield there. We thought we saw an Indian sneaking up on us. And we kept watching. We were sure it was a stinging Indian. And we got that single shot rifle. Kay did. They wouldn't let me touch it. And we stood out there and kept watching to see if it moved. And it was dark, pretty darn dark. You couldn't hardly see anything out there. Just real. It was dark enough so it was just a shape there. And we couldn't tell whether it was moving or not. And we didn't know whether to shoot it or not. And we kept trying to see if it had come any closer and so forth. And we were standing guard there and everything, but scared silly. And Blanche came in, and I don't know where the son of this but she was 6 years older than Kay was. She was 9 years older than I am. And she says, no Indian down there. And she just walked down there like that. And I think it's a pile of fodder or some darn thing laying down in the field. But I thought she was the bravest thing in the world when she marched down there. Didn't have a thing in her hand, not even a stick. But she put an end to those Indians.
Okay.
We had a Guernsey cow that had stub horns about 2 inches long. And that cow was a fool when it had a calf. And come fresh one time and had a calf, and we, Kay and I both knew how crazy that cow was about its calf. But it got out, the cow did, and we couldn't find it. We looked all over for it. So I decided to tell Kay, I said, I'm going to get out here and bawl like a calf. And that cow may think the calf's in trouble and come running back. And I guess I did a good job and convinced that cow that the calf was in trouble. But it come up behind me. I was standing right out in front of we had a great big door on the south side of the barn. I was standing right out there, and that darn cow came up behind me and hit me with its head and just knocked the tar out of me. And really hurt me pretty good. And started coming at me again, and we had right there, just inside the barn door, we always had about 4 or 5 pitchforks just sitting there. And Kay grabbed up one of those and was beating that cow over the head with it just as hard as he could. And I crawled in. We had a wagon and a buggy pulled in an open space there for him in the barn. And I crawled in under that. And that darn cow came up there and was trying to get under that buggy there to maul me some more, with Kay beating it all the time in the head with a pitchfork. He finally got it off, and, well, I think he opened the door so the cow could get in there and see its darn calf, and that's the way it got off of me. But that darn cow nearly killed me. All the folks ever had when you got wounded, it didn't matter what it was. We had turpentine and coal oil. That was the only two things. If it didn't cure it, why, you just buried the kid and got another one. That was all. So you'd have a little bit of light in there, so you wouldn't see, you could see a little. And but that was it. The last guy in bed blew out the light. One thing we did have, I don't know whether she ever knew it or not, but we had a wooden ladder in. There was a fairly big closet in between Blanche and Eva's bedroom and Kay's and my bedroom, and there was a ladder in there, a wooden ladder that went up to the attic, and they always bought a sack of sugar, 100-pound sack of sugar at a time, and that's where they kept it, up in that closet. And every now and then I'd sneak in there and get my hand and just eat it. And one time I snuck in there and Blanche was up on that ladder and saw me do it. And she told my dad that, and he beat me. He just beat the water out of me. Every night for a few weeks before Christmas, and sit there and sing and practice, you know, so we'd be real good when all the people came Christmas night or Christmas Eve. And so we were over there doing our bit, singing, and we could hear Santa Claus. They said, "Here comes Santa Claus." And we could hear somebody running round and round the church with these bells jingling, you know. Then he'd come running in down the aisle. He said, "Ho, ho, ho." And a few other things, I don't know what. He says, "What do you calculate you're going to get tonight?" We knew that was my dad.
Because he was the one who used that word.
He'd always, yeah, there's something like that. It wasn't anybody down there. As soon as he said, "What do you calculate on getting tonight?" Didn't anybody answer him, but we knew it was going to be some coconut candy that tasted like soap. They always bought it from the same guy that had the grocery store. There was 2 or 3 grocery stores in town, but they always bought it from him because he belonged to the church there. And he always put that candy back there between the coal oil and stacks of soap. And it always, you could put a piece of that coconut candy in your mouth and work up a pretty good lather there. Blow bubbles and things. But we were so gant, we'd eat it in anything. It didn't matter if it's soaked in coal oil and then dipped in soap too. Blanche's oldest boy, Lawrence 80.
Where is he?
I got a Christmas card there from him. They hunted out.
Lawrence 80?
Yeah.
Billy Pons, King Cole, Robert Merrill.
So they had it someplace close, like maybe it was in Manhattan, I don't know. But it was fairly close because I couldn't spend much time going and coming back because I only had, I think I just managed to get off 2 hours. And I remember that.
Who came to see you?
Well, there's a whole bunch of them got together there and had a barbecue or picnic. I don't even remember exactly where it was now, but I know they had to have it. Maybe, I don't think that, I was trying to think of some park maybe where they could have had it towards Junction City or Fort Riley.
When you were at Fort Riley.
Yeah. But I can think of quite a few pictures that were taken of me when I was at Fort Riley or Fort Leavenworth that aren't in that book at all. There's hardly anything in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, they must never have gotten home with you. Here it is.
Oh yeah. There used to be we had a closet at home between Blanche and Eva's room and McKay's and my room. And we had a ladder in that room going up to the attic in that closet. And the folks used to buy a 100-pound sack of sugar at a time. And they'd set it over in the other end of that closet opposite that stinking ladder. And I used to sneak in there once in a while. I didn't do it very often. And get a handful of that sugar and eat it. And one time Blanche was in there halfway up that ladder, and I didn't see her. And she just was quiet and watched me go in there and grab a handful of that sugar and eat it. And she told my dad, boy, he just beat the water out of me. I don't know whether Eva ever knew about that or not, but she must have, because Blanche was home, so Eva was too, so I don't know how old I was or how old she was, but I might have been 7 or 8 or 9, I don't know. But I didn't go get any more sugar after that. My dad would always come out there and would get the hog up that we were going to kill in a small part of the pen there. And they had an old .22 rifle in the house, and he'd get the muzzle of that rifle right down between the eyes on that hog, and you'd shoot it. And the hog would fall over usually. And he had a big knife, butcher knife, laying there then, and he'd cut the hog's throat. And that blood would just, you could watch it just pump, just gurgle, big stream out that hog's throat. And they'd let it bleed for a couple minutes or so in the pan, and then they'd get it up and get it out of there. And he had a thing like, I think it was an old single tree that he had it hooked up there with the barn door. And they'd put those 2 hooks in the side of the single tree in the tendons of that hog's leg and spread it out. And they had a big black kettle full of boiling water out there in the yard that we'd put logs under and everything, keep the fire going to keep that thing boiling. And they could let that hog down partly into this kettle, and then we had to hop on it with knives and scrape that black hair off the hog. So after a while, it was just slick as a frog. It was all white, you know, just lard showing every place. And the first thing we did was take the liver out of it. And Mom would have a few pans out there, and that'd be the first thing we'd eat about that hog was its liver. And we'd save the heart and so forth, but we'd cut that hog up, and they'd go to the drugstore and buy some liquid smoke, and they'd rub that into the hams and the bacon and make it smell like it was, and taste and act like it was really smoked in a smokehouse. And then they'd hang it up. We had clotheslines in our attic running from the east window. There's a window in each end of the attic, and these clotheslines run all the way down there. And they'd hang that bacon and hams up there in the attic and keep it for months. Sometimes it'd get moldy and have hair growing on it nearly, but they'd scrape it off a little and we ate it. It was a pretty good thing we had, because lightning struck our house a lot of times, and I can remember several individual times, but it would strike one end of the house and knock out that window usually, and then follow those clotheslines right down to the other window and go out of the house that way. In a time or two, it went right by the flue, the chimney that was going up through there, and knocked a few brick out of that. One time that lightning struck our house, and I forget what happened to the lamp that night, because that was the thing. The first guy upstairs always took that lamp and set it in the hallway. And anyway, when the lightning struck our house in the middle of the night, Mom and Blanche were both up, and they either didn't have a match to light that lamp again, I think that was it. So they marched barefooted down in the kitchen to get some more matches, and they marched all around. And when that lightning struck our house, a lot of these things, I don't know how, I can't remember ever cleaning that flue out. I think they did a time or two. They'd just take a old gunny sack with, put some sand in it and tie a rope on it and take a pole and run it up and down the flue from up on the roof. And it had a stopper up there in nearly every room in the house. Not upstairs, I don't think. I can't remember any heat upstairs at all. But downstairs, in every room downstairs, there was a place to plug stovepipe in that stopper if you pulled it out. But when that lightning struck the house, it blew all those stoppers out and blew all the soot in that chimney out, so that soot was about an inch deep all over the stinking house. And Mom and Blanche couldn't see that marching around down there in the dark, and they had barefoot marks in that soot all the way, and when they got back to bed, why, their feet looked like a nigger. And it was, well, I remember that all right. I don't remember how old I was. I remember another time it struck there, and my dad run out in the front yard, and it was just raining like the dickens. And the house was on fire up there. It set, I think that was the only time it ever set the house afire. But the rain put it out right away. It was a good thing, because there wasn't any fire department in our little stinking town.
Was that Overbrook?
Yeah. And he came back in, he stood out there in his underwear in the rain, watched it, and he said the rain had put the fire out, so it was all right.